J, H, 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 A, hard, harder, 2, eat, but it is getting harder to eat. But it is getting harder to eat.
Well, I said this once or twice already, but I mean, when we all think about feeding tubes, we think about, I think about, I think negative stuff. But I look up to Edward because he made feeding tube a good word for me. I mean, not to starve yourself and get nutrition and have more energy and put on a little bit more weight. That's wonderful. And I know the anguish that you went through to make that decision, and I want to applaud you for doing that. That was really cool, really cool. And I think you have the support. The Google listserv showed the support that this group had for you. And just the admiration that they had for your decision making. I just thought that was worth sharing today, and I thank you for being such a role model in that realm.
Alan, Stacy, and you too.
I wanted to know if it was okay, Robert, if we could do a round robin and ask people their specific disabilities. I'm just curious. I wanted to know if people felt comfortable doing that.
Well, Stacey, 99% of us have cerebral palsy.
So would it possibly be okay if I asked each one on an individual level? Would it be insulting, or would it hurt your feelings if we were, just having a break? If I asked you your level of CP?
This conference is about cerebral palsy and sharing. I would hope it would not bother anybody in this room to self-disclose about their disability.
So what about outside of this conference? Would it be okay, I'm just asking your opinion, if I saw someone who looked and had similar characteristics as someone who has CP, would it be okay for me to walk up to them? Would they be as open and willing as someone that is here at this conference?
Well, I can't talk about everybody in the world, but I would just flip it and ask you, how do you feel when someone asks you about your disability?
Anytime a deaf person meets another deaf person, it is culturally appropriate for them to ask, how did you become deaf? Were you born deaf? Do you have deaf family? Did something happen? And so coming from a deaf perspective, is applying that to other disabilities. Is it not appropriate to ask them those questions?
Well, I know with children are a whole different category because children are curious, and we should always answer children very simply, because I can remember years ago that I was up on the hay wagon transferring cider from one side to another. And my nephew was playing with a little friend, and I guess they were about 7 years old. And this girl kept on saying, "Well, what's wrong with that guy? What's wrong with that guy? What's wrong with?" And I didn't have time to answer. So I looked at Russ, my nephew, and I said, "Russ, tell your little friend what's wrong with me." He looked at me. He looked at her. He looked at me. He looked at her, and then he said, "He's my uncle." And she said, "Okay," and she ran off. So that tells me with children, you can be very simplistic. I mean, you don't know the lack of oxygen in the birth canal, la la la. I was a Smurf once, then they brought me back. So I mean, you don't need to go into all this detail with children. But Christine is Christine.
Ellen.
Well, I go out to schools and I teach kids about disabilities. And what I find is kids are curious and they'll say what's up with you. But I also think that the parents are the ones that are ignorant, and if a child says what's wrong, they'll be like, shh, don't say that. So I think it's the parents, and like Robert said with his nieces or nephews. I mean, I have nephews and nieces, and I don't think they see the CP. It is so funny because I have an active program for kids with disabilities, and last weekend he was like, "Cece," they call me Cece, can AWB do Star Wars? So he knows what I do. He doesn't see, and he knows the actors. I think he watches the play, but he doesn't see the wheelchairs or walkers or CP. He sees the actors, and he wants us to do Star Wars. So I think kids are innocent. It is not that they are making fun of you or anything. They're just honestly curious.
And I think society, we have the Americans with Disability Act, and they cannot govern attitudes. Everybody has a right to be an asshole. I know many people that have proven that theory. But I think with being out there in public as we are now versus 40 years ago, and so many people with so many different disabilities, and even the ones that think they have a disability and they want to park in our parking spaces, and that's another story. But I think the acceptance level is just getting greater. I really do. Societal acceptance level.
Okay, I may not say everything is going on with me, but I am so embarrassed about what about what I have experienced, but I have another problem. I keep on going to the doctors because I have loads of issues now that I tried to go to so many doctors and they don't know what is coming from, and I will not say because I am so embarrassed. I feel like I am the only one is in here with